Well, howdy everybody out there in YouTube land. This is amateur artist Marty D. Chandler once again from Man Land, and today I'm going to be cooking a pork loin roast on the charcoal expert grill. It's a rinky-dink thing, you know, the one I got from Walmart. But you hadn't seen any of the videos yet because I ain't putting none up yet. Because mostly the charcoal that I bought wasn't worth a darn. But this time I got some good charcoal, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. But right now we've got about a pound-and-a-half pork loin. A pork loin roast. Yeah, it's in my blue plate. Don't worry, I'm gonna wash it out before I use it to eat with. But we got some good marinade sauce on there made with some sweet cream butter. And inside that sweet cream butter we put some Worcestershire sauce, a little Tabasco sauce. Actually it's Louisiana hot sauce. And then we got some garlic and pepper, and we've got a little bit of salt, and well, just all kinds of stuff. But it's not important about your injections, because this was injected with a flavor. But the cool thing is that it was done with a 3/4 stick of actual sweet cream butter. This has been sitting on the kitchen countertop, allowing it to come to room temperature. So now the butter has solidified inside this here pork loin. Let me get up here a little closer. Now, you can't really see the spices and such on top, but I did add some extra salt and pepper and a little onion powder on top there. But most of the same thing has been injected inside the meat. And on the opposite side you have a fat cap, and I have not removed that for a reason until now. I injected it with my injector, which is a needle, you know, it's a big syringe and a needle, and I injected it from the meat side. And if you'll notice, this is the dark end of the pork loin. That's my favorite. This is not the white part. No siree. That white part is just way too dry and don't got no flavor. So since I'm doing this, I'm going to do it on the dark inside, because that's the best in my opinion. Now, a pork loin roast, even though they're considered to be super healthy, I just injected it with a lot of unhealthy stuff. But now, this is the part I want to show you. If the flies will cooperate, I'm going to take it, roll it over on this here cutting board. Now you can see the fat cap, hopefully. And I've got a very thin, sharp knife here. It's one of my favorite knives to sit there and cook with. And I'm going to take my time, not here on video, and I'm going to surgically remove this fat cap. It's not a very thick fat cap. They've done a pretty good job at the grocery store removing most of the fat. I wish they'd left some more on. But that fat cap has got to be removed for a reason, because that's in the next step. I'm going to actually cut into the meat just a little bit. It don't hurt to leave a little meat on there. But I'm going to get in there and remove just practically as much of this fat cap as I can remove what fat cap I've got left. I'm going to take my time. Like I say, it don't hurt to leave a little meat on here. None at all. Most of the fat cap has been removed. I'm hoping that's still in frame. I bumped the camera, of course, but we're not going to throw that away. That's going to be a very important part of the cooking process. We're going to put it back on the plate. I'm going to give this part right here a little extra seasoning. Now, I've been cooking on this grill here, but this is about my 4th time on this expert charcoal grill. But this time I finally got the real charcoal. I got some Kingsford, baby. This right here was back in, what, since 1920? That is some old charcoal right there. That ought to be well seasoned, guaranteed. And it's made with 100% natural ingredients. You know, there's no additives or preservatives added to this here charcoal. So this ought to work finally. Not the same cooking technique, but just using it on the grill. I've been using all them other operating names. I'm going to get the charcoal going, get it started. And I ain't gonna use no lighter fluid. Now, because I do want this meat, because it is a pork loin after all, I do want to cook it low and slow. So that's why we have this indirect cooking set up here with the pan and the water in the back. Placing the top on, try to help this thing warm up just a bit. this back vent for the top is fully open, and the holes down here at the bottom of the grill underneath next to the charcoal is fully open. So as long as we have proper airflow going to this thing, we're going to officially try out this little rinky-dink grill and see if it works with no air blowing. There's no wind out here whatsoever. Kind of still and stagnant, you might say. Time to put my hand on top, testing out the heat. It's not super hot, so that's a good sign. But I don't know how long I can leave it there. No, that's pretty hot. But it's not high enough to cause that water to start boiling. Just got little tiny bubbles right here on the front side next to the coal. Now here is the pork loin roast. That's the part that I cut the fat cap off of. And the butter and everything solidified. It's been sitting on top of the counter marinating in that butter injection for about 2.5 hours. I hear a little bit of a sizzle. That's good. Now this is the side that I use my injectors in. And I mean, I inject this thing fully throughout, about every 1.5 inches, all the way through the meat. And you can see the butter there is solidified. That's butter. That's good. Now that fat cap we had, hold on. Here's the plate. It's got butter in it. So I'm going to scoop some of that butter on out. Place it back on top of the side right here. I think y'all can see where I'm going with this. Here's that fat cap with the meat. That's the meat side. That's the actual fat. I'm going to take this with the meat side up, lay this back on top. Now, in theory, my injection ports, when the butter starts to melt again, it don't run out of the meat because I didn't penetrate the other side with my needle. You get it? I did not go through the fat cap. I stayed outside. It did not penetrate this piece of fat. So in order to fix it, by turning it upright, my needles are now like little bowls in there. Hopefully it's going to hold the marinade in there longer. And by putting the fat cap on top, we're going to get all that good flavor of the fat melting down on top of it as well. That's the trick of this here grilling technique that I kind of came up with. Somebody may have actually made a video on it, but I got to thinking and said, I think this is the best way to do it. Baked beans is a bubbling. Taters is, well, they're still room temperature. So I just put them on, you know, they ain't been on there that long. But I want to take this here fat cap and I want to lay it there in the beans. Oh man, I should have paid attention to the viewfinder here. And this piece of here pork, I'm going to leave that just as she is. And I need my both hands free. Check out the bottom of that right there. Yeah, baby. That's looking nice. Now my pan dripping down in there. I could, you know, recycle that and baste it. But I really don't think I need to baste this at all because I see nothing but moisture on top. And that's actually where the fat cap came from. So there was fat in there. And it's still rendering. So I'm going to cover this up and let these beans cook a little bit longer. Just a little bit. Give them a stir while I'm at it. Make sure they ain't sticking good. This right here is some Japanese cast iron. And it came from Fred's Dollar Store. And if you have watched my videos and you have a good eye, you may actually recognize this piece of cast iron. This is that cast iron I tried to destroy on a campfire. About 15 minutes later, she is now officially hitting the 140 mark, and that is directly in the center. Try here on the end. I'm trying not to poke this thing too much because every time I poke this thing, it lets my juices out. Let's see what that says. Yeah, it's 140 behind the stick there. Gonna go ahead and cut this roast up. It's been thoroughly rested. Let's see if it's done. Oh man, that is perfecto. I mean, check that out. Where's my second cut? There we go. I should have had this outside, but the flies are getting bad. Zoom on in. See if we can see some moisture coming out of this dude. Oh yeah, she's a juicy. Zoom back out. Zoom out, Mark, not in. Cut me another slice right quick. Cut it kind of thin. Man, you see where the injection is in that section there. Cut me a little piece right there and give this a tasty test. Now this is the end piece of that pork loin I cooked. Let's see how tender it is. And it's a little tough. Doesn't just pull apart. But that's something that cooks on YouTube don't show you. They always cut toward the center and show you the best part. Because there's no way to cook this thing tenderly all the way through, from outside edges to the inside edge, it'll still be tender. But that is an excellent piece of pork. It's like eating a thick pork chop on that piece. But now this one here, this is the center cut. I got some fat hanging off there, and it's just, it pulls apart. And what you see there is pepper, some salt, a little extra salt and pepper, and it just, let me get to the heart here. And it's just like, man, it's just like ham. It is so good. It is, I guess that's how they cook ham. I mean, it's just delicious. And that is an internal temperature of exactly 104 degrees on that little thermometer stuck in there. Now, if you find that this happens to be a little too rawish for you, I mean, it's not raw, but it is on the verge of being raw. I like cooking a fine steak. After you slice them up, for people that don't like that mushy ham texture, put it back on the grill after you slice it up, about 30 seconds on one side. You may want to flip it again to the other side, but I doubt it. Just to firm it up a bit, then serve it to your guests who complain because they had to be a weenie. But there's no blood in that. That is all absolutely, fully, fine, 100% tender ham. Not raw. Fighting the bugs too. Flies love this stuff. Oh man. It's excellent all the way around. And it's cooked on that little rinky-dinky Walmart grill. Yeah. This has been a very good Sunday for me. So y'all taking me and taking care. Amateur Artist Mark D channel once again from Manland. Bye y'all. I'm going back to eat.